painting birds' eyes and the common mistakes that very often people make. So let's get started and let's get them brushes wet. Now, one of the mistakes I see a lot of people make when they're working on birds' eyes is that they can be a little bit too big. This looks okay initially, doesn't it? You think, well, yeah, it looks about right, Paul. But is it? When you compare that to the reference photograph, it's going to be far too big. And what I mean by that, if I get my thumbnail and then the tip of my paintbrush, my size 00, okay, I'm going to measure the width of the iris. Okay, so something like that there. I'm going to work out, working horizontally, how many iris widths, or how many eye widths, if you wish, goes across towards the nostril. So say 1, make a mental note where that goes to, and then 2. So it's nearly 2 widths of the eye. So if I just do that one there, so that's going to be 1, it's going to be to there, 2, and it's gone way past the nostril on the beak there, way past. That's actually gone over towards about there. So that's basically out by probably about a quarter the width. And also, the height is a good way of looking at it as well. So it's actually 2 eye heights, if you wish, to the top of the head. What about this one? You can see that the eye is way too high on the head, and that's because the whole thing is too big. So what we need to do with that is make it a little bit smaller. But how do I do that? Okay, let me show you. Now, the thing when you're working with any eyes, I always paint the eyes first. Because if you don't get the eyes right, and you can't fix that eye, you haven't wasted all the time in painting everything else. So I very often just paint the eyes first, for that reason. So, what you can do is erase part of the eye, very carefully. Make sure it's bone dry before you even start. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a quick blast with a hairdryer. Now, there's also quite a few different ways of erasing paint. I've got an assortment of different brushes to do that with. I've got a couple which you can buy from the shops as well. I mean, there's one here by Rosemary & Co, the Eradicator. Another one there, this is just a stiff bristled brush, Series 502, same people. And these two are just homemade ones. I think these are Royal Taklon, I think they were, something like that. So I'm just about to make out the name from. So I've actually cut these with a Stanley knife and just squished them down with a pair of pliers. I do have a video on here as well on how I made these. Have a look at the link to the top right, but look at that later on, okay. Let's get through these first. Wet the brush, take most of the water off. Very carefully work the tip of the brush over the side of the eye. Like so, then lift. So I've just taken that amount of paint off. Right, okay, we know it's too far over, so we can afford to bring it back in a little bit. And then down the side here as well. Now if you rub it too hard, you start taking off the paper as well. So you'd have to be careful. Doesn't always work, but it is a good way of trying to repair that painting, it really is. I want to take off a little bit just towards the top as well. See, when you look at the beak, it comes all the way down from the central line, then just skims underneath the white patch underneath the eye there for the lower eyelid, around there, something like that. And I just want to just skim it around there. Now, from the top of the beak, that should go around there, so that's also too high up. So it's all about looking at different things, so looking at where things go. Okay, right, so that's plenty taken off, I think, for now. So now we need to give it a quick blast with a hairdryer, and then we'll start repairing the eye. So now that looks about the right sort of height as well. So I mean, other than a few tweaks here and there, that should just about do. Now, let's go to the second mistake that a lot of people tend to make when painting birds' eyes. There you go, right, this is example number 2. And another problem I see quite a lot of people, including my members, make sometimes, is where the eye is in completely the wrong place. It's the right size, but it's not in the right place. So how do I know it's in the wrong place? Well, again, we'll look at the reference photograph. Give me a minute. And then we decide from the reference photograph, this is obviously bigger than my painting, of course, how far away that is compared to where the nostril is. So, for example, on the reference photo, you can do this on your iPad, tablet, computer screen, whatever. We'll do the main iris width, not the outside edges. Go 1, 2. So it's 2 across to that nostril hole. Now, I did this one on the other one, if you recall. So on this one, it's going to be 1, So that mark there. 2, which is to there. I'll put a little mark, which is just here. It's about 2.5. Well, that's about 2.5 eye widths across. It's far too far across there. So we know that we need 2 eye widths back. So it's going to be 1, which is roughly about there, and then 2. Look where your thumbnail goes to, about there. So this eye should actually be around this area here. I know, it's well and truly off, isn't it? It really is. Where this should be. And do the same again for the height as well, to the top of the head. Alright, so it should be around there. Right, let's see if we can get that repaired, shall we? And that is how I would move an eye. I know. Not too bad, is it? Not too bad. But say, you've got to be careful not to damage that paper when you do that. And if it does, that's another reason why I tend to paint the eye first, because you can just scrap it and start again. Actually, I do like to paint the eye first because of the fact that it adds a bit of life to the painting to begin with. I know. As you can see, the white of the paper isn't quite as white as it should be because it's obviously stained from the colour we put on there. But what I can do is add a little bit of watercolour white or white gouache over the top of that, just kind of make it stand out that little bit more. Now, can you tell what's wrong with this one? I know. Ignore the beak or ignore the feathers as well, because I'm not trying to get them spot on at all. It's just the eye I want to get right. So what's wrong with this eye, would you say? Well, I know it's not quite detailed enough, but I mean, other than that, it's a completely wrong shape, isn't it? It's been squashed. So basically it's like getting a circle and just squashing that circle down. And that's basically what's happened with this. It's been constricted. It's gone like that. Okay, so it's all been squashed down. So if you remember, following this line down, the bottom of the eye roughly goes around probably about here, I would say, looking at that. Again, we can measure. We can use your thumbnail and the tip of the brush like that and measure the distance and work out how many eyes across it's going to be to the nostril and so on, just like we've been doing before. So you can use all them same methods in order to correct the mistake. So let me get on with that now. I'm using my lifting off brush again, and very lightly, just go over the edge of the eye and remove a small amount of paint on both sides, like so. So it's all about looking carefully at that reference photograph, you know. Right, quick blast with a hairdryer. Back to the size 00, and we'll start to look at repairing that now. So again, look carefully at the reference photograph and consider the shape. Remember, on this particular one, as you see from the photograph there, it's not completely round. Not really, not quite round. Nearly, but not quite. Nearly. So I'm going to draw the shape like so. Okay. Then on the outside, it's going to bring round the little tiny area for the outer ring of the eye. And then shorten that down to there. That's better. That's it. And there you go. Look, that's not too bad. A little bit of cerulean blue, just within there as well. Then all we have to do is create all the feathers again around the edge. And then a few little white highlights here and there as well. Oh, we'll have to make some more of that paint up. Yeah. Now, can you see what's wrong with this one? Go on, you can see that, can't you? Of course you can. What do you mean? It's not finished. Yeah, I know it's not finished. I realise that. Now, what's wrong with this one is that the eye has been outlined too thickly. Look at that. And this is a mistake again, which I see a lot of people do when painting bird's eyes, is that it's a little bit too thick. Okay. So it's a bit like it's got eyeliner on, isn't it, really? So we've got to be careful with that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my size 00 brush. I'm going to quickly fix that. And all I'm going to do is just go over the lines very gently, with a damp, clean brush. And I mean damp, not soaking wet. Then lift off a little bit of paint here and there. And then down the side. Then do that all the way around. Something like that. Give it a quick dry. Let's go for our kind of purpley blue first of all, okay? Out of interest, French ultramarine, Indian red and Payne's grey. I'm going to use that one just to kind of make a little mark here and there, just to make sure we know where the outline goes. Definitely goes around here. And it is an outline, I know it is. But you don't want to make it too thick. So what I'm doing, I'm going to load the brush. I'm going to roll it as I pull away from the mixing palette. Get some kitchen roll. Give it a tap or two. And then go back to your painting using the very tip of the brush. Having a newer brush works really well. One that's not got a worn tip. Okay. So the same again, give it a tap. And just lightly, gently touch the paper. So literally 2 hairs in the air. I know, that fine, that light, that's all you're doing. And already, we've got a nice edge, very fine edge as you can see just there, to this eye. Okay, something like that. Then all we need to do then is just add those little tiny details in here and there around the eye to complete it. Okay, now let me show you another one which is also quite a popular mistake. So what do you reckon is the problem with that? Well, again, when you look at that reference photograph, look at the way, try and get it above this time, there you go, that we've got the highlight, we've got the blue area just there, look, just above the highlight, okay? Then we've got the really bright highlight, that little tiny dot just here. So we've got the blue area, probably a little bit more blue needed in there, but the highlight is far too big, far too round, even a bit of a streak coming down as well. So let's quickly correct it, shall we? I'll show you what to do. So what you need to do is lift that white off first of all. Okay, a little bit of water with a clean damp brush and lift. Preferably a clean piece of kitchen roll if you've got some, okay? A little bit more and lift. Okay, and a little bit more again and lift. Give it a quick dry. Okay, that should be nice and dry. And then what we've got to do is repair it. So I'm going to go into my black, which out of interest is lamp black and French ultramarine. I'm going to start very carefully, get my best glasses on, draw out the area for the main highlight. Now you can draw it a little bit wider than you need to go to begin with, just so then you can kind of constrict it down. You can squeeze it down a little bit more if you need to. So I'm going to start off with that sort of width there, and I don't think that's too far off, to be honest. It's a tiny, tiny pinprick, isn't it? That's all it is for the highlight. We've got the blue above, so it's a tiny, tiny highlight in there now. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit more blue, which is cerulean blue, and drop that in there to blue that a little bit more. And I'm going to get some watercolour white, and then you can just add that in as a tiny, tiny dot, like that. And that's how I would fix a highlight that's far too big. Now I'm going to show you how I would paint the eye correctly. So let's do that next. Okay, let's go into our mix, which I've got there, French ultramarine, Indian red and Payne's grey. I'm going to use that one to initially outline those inner lines, not the outside lines, just the inner ones. So just do it very gently. The reason why I do this actually, when I add the washes over the top or around the areas here, then what will happen is that the pencil marks can very often disappear on you. This will help it stay put, okay? Not always, but very often it will help those pencil marks just stay in situ. So very lightly go around that eye. Now I can see an area to the left hand side of the eye here. Only a small area though, so don't paint it too big. Remember, if you're not sure on the sizes, use the brush with your thumbnail again to measure from the reference photograph, the width of the eye, or any other element you want to use as a measuring guide, just on the reference photograph initially. Okay, so that's about that area there. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to wash that brush out, just very lightly go over this area here, just to dullin that down, utilising the colour on both sides into that bare section in the middle. So it's going to blend slightly. And then the same, damp clean brush, not soaking wet, on the other side. Okay, something like that. That should do it. Okay, grab a little bit of cerulean blue and we'll pop that for the little reflection highlight just above there, look. And you can see it sort of angles down slightly. Think of a clock face. That's aiming probably between 8 and 9 o'clock direction. It just tilts down a fraction there, just above the highlight. And slightly over towards the side of it as well. That'll do. Now while that's drying, let's get some colours on the body. Then once that's on, we'll carry on and I'll show you how to paint the rest of the eye. Right then, okay. Just a few little details on there ready. So what I'm going to do is fill the eye in. Alright, so let's do that straight away. But very carefully. So even though I've not tapped the brush, what I've done, I've loaded it and rolled it as I pulled out. So it's not too overloaded. I want to get some more paint on there, as you can tell. The problem is, if you go in there with too much paint in one go, you'll end up flooding the entire area and you find it harder to control that paint, which you will. Okay, so just very lightly add that paint in. Work your way around that highlight that we got there, especially the blue section of the highlight. And you can see that the dark area goes above the blue area there. And then down towards, we've got the edge of the eye here. Now if you do end up going too far over the highlights, you make it too small, then we can just add a little bit of watercolour white in there anyway, just to fix it all back up again, you know. That's all I'm going to do with that. Very, very gently, that's all I'm doing here, look. I need to come all the way down to here now, just to widen it slightly. And my eyes are going backward and forward at that reference photograph every few seconds. They really are. Just to ensure I've got the shapes about right. So something like that. Take most of the paint off the brush, put a few fine lines through that blue area there. And then all we need to do then is just lift off a small amount of paint around it. Okay, what you're going to do with that? Just put a little bit of detail down there as well. So this area here, just to the right hand side of the eye, we're going to lift off a small amount of paint. So lift it, give it a wipe on some kitchen roll, then give it another rinse, take some water off. All I'm doing is I'm adding a small light patch area there. And just about make it out on that reference photograph. You can barely tell that I'm lifting any paint off there, but you find that when it dries, that area will dry that little bit lighter. There we go, probably see it now, just. So watercolour white. This is really dry in there, but I'm going to reactivate the white now. Okay, we're going to use that initially for the highlight in the eye. Tiny, tiny circles. Don't make it too big, and if you do, let it dry. Then just paint around that as well to kind of pull it out a little bit more. Now I'm going to add some white within the blue area. I know it's going to look white at the moment, but trust me on that, okay? Then around the edge of the eye, tiny, tiny specks here and there. We need that to dry before we do anything with that. And the same around the areas above and below the eye. I'm going to get a small amount of cerulean blue, not too thick, just from my half pan there, and just drop that on top of that watercolour white. This highlight on the side there is very uneven, so I can tidy the edge of that up with some dark colour, some black, and the highlight on the top and the bottom of the eye just needs a fraction of colour just pulling through to show those little depressions we can see in there, or those sections. It's quite bumpy, aren't they? They really are. A little bit around there. So that's how I would paint eyes on a bird. Now if you fancy painting birds' feathers, have a look at the link to the top right, where I'll go through painting a robin and all those majestic colours and those more realistic looking feathers, and also how not to do it and then how to do it as well. I'll see you there.